So,
All right.
go ahead.
All right. Welcome back to Buddy Buddy Podcast. My name is Jeremiah Stewart, and today,
Hold up. Isn't this my podcast?
oh yeah, it is.
Oh.
It is your podcast.
Oh, well. Today, I'm going to take the back seat. Obviously, y'all have seen Jeremiah before.
Mhm. Episode 1.
Episode 1.
Yep.
He's going to be a regular on the podcast. And today,
Yes, sir.
he's taking the reins. He's going to be interviewing me.
Yep.
And getting a little bit more on my side. I'm taking the back seat. I'm not used to this. I'm used to being the one
Right.
throwing off the questions and being the one to reciprocate. But today, I get to just sit here and answer whatever you got planned for me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Whenever you came up with the idea, a couple weeks ago or so, my mind was already turning and the gears were starting to work of what I was going to ask. So
yeah, you said you got some juicy ones for me.
I got not a page full, but I got some good questions to ask you and just kind of pick your brain and let your viewers see a little bit more about you instead of some other people.
Okay.
So you just publicly announced that you retired from cornhole.
I did.
So kind of give me just a kind of little background information on that. Not necessarily explain why you quit. I mean, if you want to, you can. But kind of give me a rundown on that.
Oh, that's a good question because, yes, by the time this comes out, I've already made my post.
Right,
it's already been out there. People have already seen that I'm stepping away.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and throw it out there. I chose to step away. I did requalify.
Yes.
I chose to step away. I didn't lose my pro card.
Not even like close either. Like you did really well this year in singles at least.
In singles, I ended 60th. So like once you took away the top 50 doubles teams, I was like one of the first few to requalify. So I got better this year.
Absolutely.
So I could have easily kept that going and probably got better again next year.
Absolutely.
But I chose to step away to focus on my more a career path, and because of this podcast, I wanted to be able to spend more time with people that I love. And so I love playing cornhole, but I struggled with the schedule. It just felt like I had to be gone.
Traveling and things like that.
Whether it was actually traveling where I was on a plane or just traveling on Saturdays to drive to Georgia or drive to Rock Hill or drive somewhere, North Carolina, somewhere to play every Saturday, I just got super burnt out. And I needed to find myself again.
Right. And
I knew when I started cornhole, the day that I qualified, I was telling people, you especially because you were there, I was like, I know my worth is not in this game.
Absolutely.
I know my value isn't in this game. So if I qualify or not, I know I'm good. I know I'm happy. But I definitely felt like that switched some in these 2 years that I played. I felt like I found a lot more of my identity as a professional cornhole player, not as Andrew.
Right.
And so people knew me for that, and that's not really what I wanted. And so I'm stepping away just so I could focus on bettering my life outside, whether that's with my relationships with people and to find a future better job.
Right.
Just so I could be more established. So maybe one day when I'm married or have a family that I just feel like I can provide. And
absolutely.
So just more stability in my everyday life. I love playing cornhole, but I just wanted more stability.
Right. Yeah. And kind of something that stuck out to me was not letting whatever your desire is or whatever you're into, whether it's a sport or a relationship, not letting that consume you. And that's something that I've dealt with in the past over multiple different things. Is not letting activities or hobbies or things like that consume who I am. You know what I mean? So that's a really good point. But kind of the whole concept of this podcast is building your own personal community.
Yes.
So at the local level and at the pro level, kind of give me one individual who you've came across in your cornhole time that you really admire and appreciate meeting because of cornhole.
First person off the top of my head, outside of you and Dylan, because y'all got me into it.
Right.
Y'all got me into cornhole, so I can't really say y'all.
Right.
It would have to be Joe Nathan. Joe Nathan Peckham. I hope you
shout out Joe Nathan. Joe's the man.
He is the man. I got the pleasure of setting y'all up to play state together 2 years ago.
Yes, you did.
Put y'all together, and y'all ended up
third place.
Third place. I got fourth, but cornhole, I'm so grateful that it brought him into my life.
Right.
I've had countless amazing conversations with him about faith, about just our desires when it comes to cornhole, to his marriage, picking his brain about his marriage, to his future. And so I'm just super grateful that through cornhole I got to meet him because he's an amazing friend, amazing
he is
man,
an amazing person.
He's an amazing human being, and so yeah, he's not on the pro level. Hopefully one day he will be.
Yeah,
but Joe Nathan for sure is probably the first person in my head that I'm grateful to meet.
Kind of just to talk about Joe a little bit. In any sport really, but particularly cornhole, when a lot of things are surrounded around you, not that cornhole is filled with an environment of bad people, but it's definitely easy to kind of lose your way. Yeah, because there's things like alcohol, there's things like vulgar language, explicit language and stuff like that. Yeah, Joe has never stepped aside of that, from my eyes at least. No, so that's something that like I've really admired about Joe from a distance is that he's always been true to him. Yep. You know what I mean? And no matter who he's around, whether it's around a group of 20-year-olds or a group of 60-year-olds, Joe is always Joe. Yeah. So Joe's always awesome. And I think that's partially why I felt like I was so grateful to meet him because I felt like he was one of the select few that had that mindset where like I'm going to be true to myself. Right. Regardless of who I'm around. I'm not trying to conform to anybody around me so I feel accepted or like a part of a friend group. And so that's why I've always, because I feel like I had that same mentality about myself. And so that's why Joe like immediately stuck out to me. It's when you have that mindset for yourself, it's really easy to spot when you see somebody for sure that's very confident in who they are and won't budge. So what about at the pro level? At the pro level, somebody that I'm grateful to meet. Current or past pros, it doesn't. I'll just say my first pro partner because Gage for sure. Like he messaged me and just said he's going to miss me because of he made sure to give me a hug at Worlds because I'm not coming back next year. But that was a journey with him because we didn't know each other. We both just happened to throw the same company through BG, and so when we qualified at the qualifier together. I didn't know him. I didn't meet him until the first tournament that we played in, right? Which was in Cincinnati, Ohio. Like I'd never spoken to him face to face, and it was a journey. Like we come from different walks of life. I was a lot older than him. Our personalities are way different, and just the bond of like having to like get to know a friend and get to know somebody that's nowhere like you, in like regards, and you're bonding by playing tournaments together, and so. Through the past few years, like our relationship's gotten a whole lot better, right? And it's a lot more like at first, like selfishly, I was like, man, like I don't know if I like this dude, and then I grew to love him, and now we're friends and whatever, and he's excelling. He ended like 30th in singles this year. He did really well this year, and him and Shibby ended like top 20, I think, 20th or something in doubles. They had an amazing year, and so he's on the come up for sure, and I know he's like. He did enough where he's going to get a decent contract this year probably to pursue that. And so I'm very grateful for Gage and him like taking a chance on me for 1 year. I know we only played 1 year together, but I'm very grateful for him. Yeah, Gage, I got to meet Gage at the Charlotte Open. Asheville, excuse me, not Charlotte. And where I played my third or fourth game, and he waxed me. I remember this. Did not even come close to touching him. He threw really well that game. And then after he rode in the car with us on the way back, because my car broke down. Well, not broke down. It blew a tire. That's another story for another day, though. But just kind of getting to talk to you guys and kind of listening to the conversation and building not necessarily a relationship with Gage, but kind of just getting to know him a little bit was fun. So I'm very grateful. I don't think he ever came to Assassins that weekend or that week, did he? Or he he didn't. We went to Slides. He stayed with me that week leading up to the National or wherever we were going, or Florida. We were going to Florida for the other Open, and I think we went to Slide City for a blind draw, but. No, we didn't go to Assassins. We didn't play locally. Our local was at Slide City. Yep. Yeah. So, kind of transition out of the cornhole phase, and more of like the environment and the setting that you're transitioning into now, which is a podcast. Talk a little bit about what's been not necessarily a struggle, but like something that you've had to overcome dealing with this podcast, and then something that you're grateful for, or like an accomplishment that you. Are proud of because of the pod? Because of the podcast. For one, the number one thing
that was like my doubt or like my thing that I felt like almost kept me back from wanting to do it was talking. And being in front of a camera.
Right.
Like I wanted it to be something that was public just for the sake of the public accountability. Like I wanted people from all around the country or whoever that knows me that sees the podcast, like they know that I'm doing this so that I can receive messages like, hey, like how like messages about the podcast, so it gives me motivation to keep going.
Right.
If not, I would have made excuses like we've done with other stuff, like other ideas where other excuses would come up and I just won't do it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted it to be public.
For sure.
My biggest like doubt and like thing I struggled with the most was getting the confidence to put myself out there publicly. Right. And so that's why I wanted, for one, like it's easier when you have friends that are willing to do it with you, because the whole point of the podcast is me building my community. So I have to have friends in here with me. But I guess the hardest one so far was just my little intro video. Yeah. The one where I'm just like sitting here in this chair and like talking about why I'm doing this. Yeah. And having the confidence just to stare at a camera and talk was hard. Right. That's definitely been the biggest struggle, was just being okay with hearing my voice on a public scale. Right. I've never done that in any level of my life. I've never been one to like, I'm not even like super social. Like I'm not the light. I'm never like the face of the room. I'm never the one. I'm not going to a karaoke night and hopping on the stage. Like I'm never the center of attention. And so doing something where people are looking at me is like kind of scary. And so that's definitely,
which makes sense. I mean, because men, our natural reaction, well, not necessarily reaction, but like something that like men shy away from is just the vulnerability aspect. Yep. Of being vulnerable with yourself and like being just open in every walk of life. And so that's why something that me personally I admire from you is just kind of taking that leap and just saying I'm gonna do it. And I don't care if anybody thinks this is stupid or dumb. This is what I'm gonna do. And something that I've told you a couple weeks ago, after our pod, I felt led in my heart to reach out to people that I not necessarily don't have a good relationship with, but I've kind of lost sight of a little bit. And I've been able to rekindle those relationships because it motivated me to say, hey, you haven't spoke to this person in a while. You need to kind of talk with them. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's a really good aspect and kind of hopefully a thing that whoever comes to sit in this chair just like I am feels. You know what I mean?
Because obviously it's easier where people like you or Dylan or my buddies that used to live with me. I used to go to college. Like I've had like Caleb and Austin and my buddy Wingo who was here yesterday. Those people are easy to talk to because I talk to y'all pretty regularly.
On a daily basis.
But I just wanted to do this with y'all because it gets it on a more intentional, deeper level of conversation.
Not just on the surface.
Yeah, not just surface, like, hey, how was your day type conversation. But it's been so cool. But even just by talking to people like y'all, it's had people have reached out to me that either I haven't thought about in years. Yeah. Or it's just challenged myself to say, like, all right, I'm going to reach out to people that, like, I used to be close with that I don't know what happened. Because of life. And so I've had people reach out to me and encourage me that and like ask to hop on the podcast. Like my buddy Justin that was on the podcast this week, his episode came out today. Like he reached out to me. He's like, I saw this, I want to be a part of this. Right. And so he came over and we rekindled our friendship, and hopefully we actually like we see each other on a more regular basis than once a year. Yeah. And so like this is the main reason why I'm doing it is just so I have a public platform where people know that what I'm doing so they can hold me accountable, is also to challenge anybody to seek friendships and solid friendships in their life. Obviously you only can limit your number of friends. Me and Wingo talked about it. It's like we can't be friends with everybody because we don't have the time for that. You got to find your inner circle and stick with you have to build your inner circle of people that you want influencing your life. But this is just me. That's why I want to do it. And so I guess the biggest success from it, because that was part of your question, was failure and success. I guess success is just the relationships that I've already rebuilt or starting to rebuild because they've already reached out and like want to talk and whatever that I love dearly that I just haven't spoken to. So
for sure. So in a year from now, so August of 24. Yeah. What do you hope that you see from Buddy Buddy, or what will we see from Buddy Buddy?
I got some ideas for sure for the future, because Wingo kind of asked a similar question last night to me. He asked me a question. He's like, so when will you consider your community rebuilt? And will that be the end?
That's a good question.
And will that be the end of the podcast? That's what he asked me last night. And I told him, I said, I don't know if the podcast will end, but I will feel like my community is rebuilt when I know in my heart that I'm not alone, and that regardless of what I'm going through, I have somebody that's been through those experiences. So I have somebody to turn to for any question that I might have.
Right.
But for the future of the podcast, I mean, by the time we have this one gets posted, I've already recorded it. But my girlfriend, Abby, me and her are going to have our first episode and talk. And I want to open up the realm of the women's perspective. I've had people reach out that want to see women guests. Yeah. And so I'm going to interview her. And then after that happens, we're going to start sprinkling in her own episodes, like where she's like, you're hosting me right now. Sure. Where she hosts her own community. Okay. And so there'll be strictly women's episodes where she's interviewing people in her own community. And she's just using my platform. Right. And then we eventually want to do like couples episodes. Yeah. So, because we want, for our relationship, we want strong community so that we have people to hang out with, people to do life with. And so we want to do couples episodes. And then outside of that, it's going to get to a point where I'm making new friends or bringing people on that have a perspective of community, whether that's they're running a company or they are in a bigger platform where they have community looks different, right? Whether or pastors, like I want my pastor to be on here, and like what their perspectives of community and like shepherding people looks like. So at some point, I'll get to a point where I'm just interviewing people just to interview people, to build community and more connections in my life. It won't necessarily be my inner circle or people that I'm doing life with regularly, but it's always going to be about bringing people on for the goal of teaching others about how to build community. Right. And so that's kind of what I have going. I don't know how long this will last or how long the podcast will go, but until ideas stop flowing. Right. For right now, I got some in the works.
You've told me a few of them, a few that you just said, and then a few that are new to me. Yeah. But kind of from a perspective of someone that isn't a host of this, and kind of just seeing from an inside perspective and kind of picking your brain about it. Yeah. Some of those things intrigue me too. Yeah. As for entertainment, just to watch and listen, and then also things I can incorporate in my life. But you mentioned something that I want to talk about or bring up now, which is Abby. Okay. Shout out Abby. She's awesome. Love Abby. Yeah. So kind of tell me a little bit about that.
About the beginnings or about her?
Just in general.
And about her?
Besides that, she's very beautiful.
And she works very hard.
And she works very hard.
Shout out Dylan Leatherwood.
Yeah. Shout out D Wood. Yeah. But yeah, tell me a little bit about her. Kind of how y'all met, where things are going now and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I guess it was beginning or middle of June, like early June. I work at a coffee shop called Bella Latte, and this beautiful redheaded girl with blue eyes came in all sweaty. Sorry, Abby. But came in.
I saw my girlfriend sweaty. Yeah. That's
was
the thumbnail.
Yeah. That was my first time laying eyes on her. Yeah. She had just got done working out at Burn Boot Camp and coming to get caffeine afterwards.
We love a dedicated woman.
Yeah. Dedicated, trying to get in shape. Yeah. But, she came in, and immediately when she walked in, I looked at my coworker and I said, "Bro, I know this girl." I was like, "I recognize her from somewhere." I was like, "I don't know where." Yeah. But I was like, "I recognize this girl," and so I just served her. I didn't really introduce myself or anything. I just served her coffee and let her go about her day, because she literally, when she was paying for her coffee, she was so hyped up from her workout. She was like, her hands were shaking. She was like, couldn't get her hand in the car. We were just like, "Sorry, my adrenaline's just pumping right now from her workout." And so I just let her go about her day. I just served her vanilla latte and let her go on. Yeah. And come to find out, she had been following me on Instagram. I was like, I know I've seen this girl. Yeah. Like, I've come across her profile. I was like, I recognize her. Come to find out, she had been following me on Instagram. we've looked it up. Me and her looked it up since then, and she followed me back in 2016. We don't know what was the cross
reason,
paths. We don't know like why she came across my profile, why she followed me. I just remember I'd seen her before because I'd seen her on multiple times on Instagram because she used to play volleyball with people I went to church with in high school, and she went to college at Anderson where I'd followed some people where I dated a girl at Anderson, and so I'd come across her profile at some time. So I found her on Instagram, followed her back, and then slid in the DMs. Not trying to be creepy, but like I slid in the DMs,
of course,
about like serving her coffee. Like, sorry, like I knew, like I found that I saw where you had been following me, and I just like, I followed you back, not trying to be weird or whatever. And it led to us going to get dinner, and now we've been together almost 2 months now, and things with her are great. She's a teacher, teaches third grade, coaches volleyball.
Shout out our educators that are watching this.
Yeah, because you're a teacher as well.
Let's go.
But she's amazing. She's one of the most supportive people I've ever met.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm working. I was a dude working part-time in coffee, chasing this dream of playing professional cornhole, and then I'm now pursuing this whole avenue of doing podcasts, whether it makes me $1 or not.
Right.
It's just an avenue for me to build community, and she has been supportive through all of it.
Yeah.
And she's never like shied away from it.
Yeah.
Like, me having her on soon, us doing episodes. She loves the idea of hosting her own episodes because she's like, I need to do this in my own life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so using my platform would be cool. And she's just been super supportive. And she's like, we balance each other pretty well. Because like I mentioned already, I'm not like the light of the room type person. Right. But she's one of the most outgoing people I've ever met.
Very outgoing.
Very outgoing.
I've only met her 2 or 3 times max. Yeah. And you can already tell that no matter what type of mood she's in, she's very bubbly, very outgoing, very social. Yeah. Like, for example, my wife, whenever they first met, they literally picked up a conversation and like connected like that. Yeah.
She's very good about making people feel welcome.
Yeah.
And so she's very welcoming. Her presence is like that. So she will hold a conversation with anybody. And I guess that's very nice for myself. Yeah. I'm not the most social person, so we can hold conversations well because she balances me out pretty well. But no, it's been awesome. Things with her are going amazing for only been together 2 months.
Right, just a couple months.
I mean, I guess we're in that honeymoon phase at the moment. Right. Like, I think if we make it to Friday seeing each other every day, we've made it like 3 weeks seeing each other every single day, which hasn't felt like it's a hard thing. We're enjoying it, and I think it's like a healthy sign of a relationship where we want to be together. Which I mean, it could be cringe, it could not be. I don't really care because I'm happy. But no, I'm just super grateful for her, and I think our personalities like coincide, and obviously we both have this whole goal of like building community, but also we want like Jesus to be known in our relationship. She's super involved in her church. She's at church right now while we're recording this. And she's super involved in her church, all these camps during the summer. She's just wants people to experience the love of Jesus. And that's like super refreshing and super encouraging to myself. Yeah. And it challenges me to be a better example to those around me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, Abby, whenever you listen to this, because you listen to all the episodes, you're awesome. Very grateful for you. Yeah. And so
very, very hardworking.
Very, very hardworking.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit about the aspect of faith. Yeah. Not necessarily diving in depths of my personal faith or my walk with Jesus or whatever. Yeah. And again, this is all my opinion and my point of view, and I think that you agree. Yeah. Is that whenever there's a mature, healthy relationship with a woman and Jesus, it's super attractive.
Oh, super!
Like just to see my wife and her walk with the Lord, has made me be like, wow, that like, I don't know, it's just something about just something, whether it be the aspect of her walking her faith or whatever it is, it's just something about just it being attractive, and I see women all the time saying the exact opposite, or not the opposite, but vice versa, where men and their faith and their walk with the Lord or whatever is attractive as well. So diving a little bit more in depth of it motivated me to kind of say, hey, my wife is doing this, this, and that in her faith. I need to kind of pick up my end as well, which has motivated me to be a better husband, to do more tasks around the house and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Over something just as simple as being more committed in your faith. So that's something that's I've done, and kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But kind of getting out of the relationship phase, whatever. One question that you asked me, I don't remember the exact question, but I talked about my relationship with my dad, Papa Rod.
Yeah.
Who is my role model.
Yeah.
Also, my grandpa's my role model as well. But talk a little bit about who is your role model and why.
I mean, the answer obviously is your dad. Like, always growing up, if people, because my dad's was a youth pastor, he still works in ministry, and so I was always around the church people. And if anybody ever told me growing up that you were like your father, I don't look like him, but if they ever said I am like my dad, it was the biggest compliment I could ever receive. If people view me as a person, as a man, as a young man, in light of who my father is, I think that's like the biggest compliment I could ever receive. Because I guess selfishly, I hold my dad to a higher pedestal. It's like I view him in such good light, where I think like if I could be him when I'm 55, 56, however he is, like I'd be happy.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Watching how he serves my mom, watching how he has a heart for missions and has a heart for ministry, and how he's done well with raising my sister. One of the things that I've always been admired to them, my parents, especially like both my parents, not just my dad, but somehow they instilled like the biggest conscience in me and my sister.
Yeah.
I really don't know how they did it. I mean, obviously they put us in church, and some people lean into being a part of the church life when they're young, and some people kind of rebel against it.
Yeah.
Once they get to their own age, like high school, young adult age. But from early on, me and my sister both were like, we don't want to upset my parents. Not that we don't want to, like, I don't know. Neither one of us had like a true like rebellious stage. Like, not that we're perfect, but like neither one of us had a desire to go party. Neither one of us had a desire to sneak out. Neither one of us had a desire to do like all the like high school things you see in movies.
Right.
Like, we just never had a desire to do that. Now that we like those things didn't seem fun, it's like none of that seemed enjoyable to the sense where we would want to disobey our parents to do those things.
Yeah.
And something I've always asked my parents, and they can never give me a good answer. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, how do you instill a conscience into children? Because like, hopefully I'm a dad one day, and I want to be able to instill that in my kids.
Absolutely. Like, especially in today's day and age.
Yeah.
Like something that isn't talked about enough, but is probably one of the most important things in little kids, is just the aspect of parenting and the nuclear family.
Yeah.
And everything you said about holding both parents on a pedestal and not wanting to upset them in anything is the exact same in my life. If, for example, I remember my dad picked me up from school one day when I was in like second grade, and I got like a C or something, or however they do the grading scale, and I was upset because I thought it would upset him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that like on a behavior standpoint, but like in any aspect of life, you just don't want to disappoint those that you really admire and stuff like that. So
I definitely say my dad has been my role model. It's the person that I look up to the most of, like, at an actual person. Yeah, because I've talked with Abby about it too. Like, I don't idolize celebrities like at all. Like, no celebrity, no public figure I ever idolize. I don't want to be them. Like, I view them as people that just have more eyes on. Like, I don't like, so I mean, there's people that I respect and how they hold themselves, but
for sure.
I've never made any celebrity my role model. Because like, I don't know, it's just never been.
I feel like it's just always, I mean, it's not, to a certain extent with celebrities, I believe most of it's just kind of a front.
To some degree,
you know what I mean? Like, you don't know, and we're on the example of celebrities, you don't know the true side of someone until you get to know them.
Yeah,
you know
until you get them behind like, not in front of a camera.
Right, yeah. And not in the light of paparazzi or whatever.
Yeah.
And someone who, in growing up, idolized many baseball players and stuff like that.
Yeah.
and then kind of grew out of that whole phase and kind of matured, that's when I stepped into admiring my grandpa and my dad and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But whenever people hear Andrew Guy, whether it's in a conversation that's being brought up, or whether they see a post that you scroll up, what do you want them to think of whenever they hear Andrew Guy?
When they hear my name, I hope they just see somebody that loves others and does their best to continue to improve on, like, is still striving to become a better man. Like, that's like, I don't want to feel like I have it all together. But when some people hear my name, I hope they at least think that, like, I'm a decent person that loves people and wants people to know that they're loved by Jesus. But that's like the ultimate goal. Like, obviously, a lot of people, I hope they see that there's something different about me when it comes to faith, that in those regards, so people will be able to ask questions like, why are you different? But I hope they just say that he's a solid dude that loves people. And that's like, I guess that would be a good enough answer for me. Yeah. Like, I don't care if people view me as successful. I don't care if they view me as like whatever else. But if I treat people well, that's really all I care about. So
yeah, that answer kind of just kind of the first thing that pops up in my mind is, I mean, obviously I'm starting a new job and a new position. Yeah. But me being a teacher, I have the opportunity to shine my light on other kids and individuals. Yep. It's a little bit different now because I'm teaching a totally new age group. Yeah, you're teaching kids but now. Something that, like, I'm nervous about is being in the aspect of, if someone does ask me a question about faith or something about that, I'm not going to shy away from it. Yeah. So I guess what scares me is, not necessarily I got to get fired from a position, whatever, but what are the repercussions of me going to answering that, or answering the question truthfully? You know what I mean? Yeah. Because this new school system that I'm entering into, I can tell is going to be totally different than Woodruff. Yeah. I'm not going to talk a little bit too in depth on it, but that's very surface level. So your answer by saying I want people to kind of see my faith and what I am, and hopefully shine or uphold the Christian faith or whatever, kind of speaks into my heart and reminds me of saying, hey, this is your priority. You know what I mean? So that really is important to me, and kind of a really good answer, and talk about that. Yeah, because I was talking to Abby about it the other day, because I'm obviously in a season where I'm trying to find a new job. I don't know what that looks like. Yeah. I'm trying to trust in the Lord in that. But something I told her the other day, I said, as long as I'm doing something and I'm still loving people well, I think I'll be happy. Yeah. Like I said, I think my words to her was like, I can love people wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing. Yeah. And so as long as I can still do that and uphold, like, I can love people wherever I'm at, like, I think I'll be okay. Yeah. I don't really have like a desired career path. Right. Like, of a certain thing I specifically want to do. So as long as I can uphold who I am as a man and continue to like hold to my standards and my morals, I think I'll be okay. So now I just got to figure out what that job means. Yeah, that's one thing that I feel like I really try to remind myself on a daily basis, is that, like, I really love and enjoy building relationships and servicing other people. Yeah. Whether it's me having a conversation with somebody, or if it's me holding the door open for somebody, you know what I mean? Or if it's talking to someone not on a surface level, and really diving in the depths of their mind and where their walk is, whatever. Yeah. That's something that I had to remind myself on a daily basis, especially with kids. Yeah. You know what I mean? And to the extent of 4 or 5, 6-year-olds, how I can service those kids so that they can see not the teacher side of me. Yeah. Does that make sense? That does make sense. So that's something that I have to remind myself on a daily basis. And so I guess, kind of to wrap this whole thing up, and the last question that I have for you is that, in your opinion, why is it so important to build up your own personal community? Why is it important to have community? Yeah. Because I don't think we were made to live life alone. Like, I don't think we don't have the answers. Like, in whatever we're doing in life, we don't have the answers to what it looks like to be a successful man. We don't have all the answers to say, like,
like how am I supposed to treat people? And when you're struggling, you need people around you.
Yeah.
And so I know when I'm going through seasons where I'm struggling with particular sins, or like I'm just struggling with my self-worth, like if I'm sitting basking in my own thoughts, I'm only going to continue to wallow in it. Like I personally am not strong enough to get myself out of it. I need the help of other people, and most importantly, my Savior, Jesus Christ, to help me get through those seasons of life. If not, then I can't do it. So I think community is huge, so that I have people to help build me up and I can turn to say, hey man, I need you, or hey Abby, I need you to pray for me in this. I need encouragement in this.
Yeah.
Even if I don't need to hear it. Like me and Dylan brought it up, even though our episodes never came out because of issues.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. Whatever. Like I need people in my corner that are honest with me. Like check me when I'm wrong. Like check me when I do something stupid. Like don't let me continue to treat people in a certain way when you see that it's wrong.
Yeah.
And so I need people in my corner to do that, because I don't know how to live life perfectly as by myself.
Right.
And so I think community is huge. And so that's why I'm doing this, so that I build my community and I have those people I can turn to. And so, yeah, I think community is huge, because we're not meant to do life alone.
Yeah. Some of that, like, I mean, since our episode and kind of just thinking on my personal life, is just having people that I feel comfortable with hold me accountable. You know what I mean? Just in any aspect.
Yep.
And something I feel like your answer, that's kind of what it boils down to, is just people holding you accountable, or you holding other people accountable as well. It's just making sure that you're staying on that path and making sure that you're doing the right things and stuff like that. I think it's huge.
Yep. And even on a more surface level, I think community is important. Like life is more fun when you do it with people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like even if it's just us going to play cornhole or us going to play golf.
Yeah.
Like I'd much rather go play golf with you than go play golf by myself.
Right.
Like regardless, I can shoot the same score, and it's gonna be more enjoyable if I can do it with somebody.
For sure.
Versus doing it with myself.
Yeah.
Just by myself. And so I think community is important, because yes, I want it for the accountability aspect. I want it for the sake of men coming together, for the sake of we're going to grow. Like we're going to become better men. We're going to become better husbands. We're going to become better followers of Christ. And that's what I want it for. But also I just want to enjoy memories with people that I care about. Whether that's me, you, and Dylan going to a concert, whether we're playing golf, whether I'm like hanging out with Abby, doing whatever. Like I want to make memories with people, and you can't make memories with people that last if you don't have good community. Or you can have those memories, but then there's not really holding it there. It's just I had a memory with a certain person, but I don't really have like this deep connection with them.
Do you ever think that someone's community can get too big?
Yes. Me and Wingo talked about this last night. Because you only have a certain amount of time for a certain amount of people. Like I want to do this podcast, but I can't sit here and say I'm going to sit here with 7 different people a week. Like I can't do it. There's no
I think at that point it would kind of get, what's the phrase? Kind of like watered down. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like in a way, it's not as intentional.
It'll get back. It'll get back to what I'm trying to get away from, which is intentional relationship or surface level relationships. The more and more I put myself out there to new people, I'm gonna take away from the friendships that I want to dig deeper. Like Wingo talked about it last night in his podcast, but he's like, man, there was nights where like I have like 3 different people message me, hey, wanting to like play video games together, different games. He's like, it's like, yeah, it might sound lame than playing video games, but it's like that's 3 separate groups of people wanting me to play, and I felt like I was stretched super thin.
For sure.
And I think that's very true in our lives. Like I think in the side of community, you need your inner circle, whether however many you feel like you can hold, where I can regularly talk to these people and not feel burnout. Like it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like any extra effort talking to these people on a regular basis. That number could change for maybe if you're more social. You could have up to 10 maybe, or you could be super introverted, where like talking to 3 people is enough for me. Like, and I feel burnt after that. So yeah, I definitely think community can get too big in the regards of like your intentional community, but this podcast is more. It's more for my community, but also to challenge people to build friendships in general, build relationships in general, because we've had people on the podcast where just making relationships has changed their life. Yeah. Like Dylan changed mine by introducing me to cornhole. I wouldn't even know who you are if it wasn't for Dylan. And then like my friend Kevin, he had opportunities to do things in photography he would never been able to do if he didn't just make a new friend.
Yeah.
If he wouldn't have talked to somebody in a coffee shop, he would never had these opportunities that were given to him.
Right.
And so this podcast is just a space where to challenge people to say, like, if you have the capacity in your day-to-day life to add one extra person, add an extra 2 people to people you talk to regularly, it could dramatically change who you are.
So I've already asked you this, not on the pod, and I loved your answer, but I know that your intentions aren't for this to blow up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's say on a theoretical basis it does.
Okay.
All right. Whether it's in a month or whether it's in 5 years, whatever. This is all theoretical.
Yeah.
How do you not let those things get watered down?
How do you not let what get watered down?
The pod, the relationships that you build, whatever it is. If it does blow up.
If it does blow up, then it'll have to transition into more where it probably be less episodes, but with the same people on a rotating basis, which are my community. Like whichever I find my inner circle to be, I do. Like this is your second time on the podcast. Like it'll be more my reoccurring effort with the same however many I can handle people on a recurring basis, so it doesn't get watered down, so that I know that like we're building on each conversation where it's not like I don't forget about what I talked about with you the next time we meet. And then it's like, I don't even know what we need to talk about because we're not doing life together regularly. So I guess without letting it get, if it does were to blow up, not let it get watered down is making it more intentional, just like with the recurring set of guests where like the guests are people that I want here often. And then like making it be more about that and less about like bringing in new guests. So then I guess the guests would have. I'd want to still do new guests because I like making new relationships and connections that could open up doors in life. But I guess so it doesn't feel watered down, I have to bring in the people regularly.
And I mean, obviously that's a what if scenario or whatever. Is it? Would that be? Would you consider that a fear? Is that if it does blow up, a fear that it's not as intentional as what you want it to be?
Yes, that's 100% a fear, because with more eyes means I'm selfishly going to want bigger guests, want to meet new people that have bigger audiences, so that my platform gets pushed more.
Right.
And so then that would take away from my core community of you, Austin, Caleb, whoever.
Yeah.
And I'll be more focused on who's next versus how are the people doing that I care about.
That's a great answer, yeah.
Which is why I'm doing this to begin with. Because I went from, if it does go that, I'd go from being alone, which is why I started it, feeling alone why I started it, to feeling alone again because I would have a bunch of just surface level conversations with people over and over and over again.
I love that, yep.
And so we'll get there if that day comes, if that's a what if.
Yeah.
But finding the balance of doing regular episodes or less episodes and doing life with people outside of the podcast, like hanging out with you more, hanging out with Caleb more outside of the podcast where it's not recorded.
Yeah. And
then knocking back episodes where I'm only doing like one a week and it's just somebody new. So I don't feel burnt. So we'll see. We'll see if that day comes.
We'll see. But I mean, that's all I have for you. Would you want me to do the outro since I'm the host today?
Yeah, go ahead. You got it.
All right. So thank you for listening to Buddy Buddy Podcast. I believe you said number 10.
Yes, it'll be number 10.
Number 10.
Yep.
Obviously, like, comment, share on whatever platform you listen to. I think it's on Apple.
Yep. All streaming platforms for audio and then YouTube.
Yep. So make sure if you listen, whatever you feel motivated to do to build your community, make sure you do that. And as always, thank you for listening to Buddy Buddy.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Bang.
Let's go.
You had some good questions.
Sweet.
That was impressive.
Speaking of, Mama Stewart FaceTime me. Yo.